And next we have Lost in the Game Dream State Saga, book number 4, written by Christopher Keane. It is 335 pages. It is $4.99. It is available on Kindle Unlimited. And here's the author's description. With the Screamers held hostage out in the real world, it's up to Noah to save them. After years of believing Chloe's brother was dead, a clue leads them to believe he's alive and in need of a rescue. It's a chance for everyone to finally make things right after the failed beta test. Unlike the ghost of the dream state who controls them, Noah believes the former beta testers have a chance to live outside the game once more, but only if he can find them and free them from the ghost. The mission is personal for everyone: Chloe's brother, Siena's long-lost high school friend, Kara's boyfriend, Brock's coworkers. Everyone has lost someone to the Screamers. To save the lost Screamers, Noah and his friends must team up and venture into the real world, but the ghost is willing to kill in order to keep the Screamers captive. Can Noah and his friends survive a quest outside of the game? So there we go. Full disclosure, I received advance copy for you. I purchased a copy when it became available. I honestly thought this series was done. I really did. I did an author interview with the author, I think when book 3 came out. And he's like, I'm not sure my publisher is going to go for a 4th book. So I'd kind of like try, that arc in book 3 had really wrapped up most of everything. It kind of left a little teaser so in case the story was going to continue, it could, and it has, and this is it. But in a lot of ways, this story feels like an add-on. And an add-on in the context of like, you have a finished MMO, you have this finished game, and there are add-on content that expands the story or it kind of extends it out. And that's kind of what this story feels like, because there's not a lot of power progression in this novel. So it feels a little bit more like cyberpunk gamelit to some degree, because again, there is such few RPG progression at this point. The first 20% of the story really recaps the last story arc, explains what the main character and his team are still working for the game company. Again, there's also some content that, again, gives you more of a cyberpunk gamelit feel, including cheatability that projects an enemy's intention while it's cool. Again, it kind of enhances that cyberpunk feel since it bypasses the normal game system entirely. But it's explained in the novel. There are also several of the places where the devs override or bypass normal gameplay elements, which again feeds into that cyberpunk feel instead of being a lit RPG. Story-wise, things are good. This is a very well-written story. I had a good time with it. There are a couple places in the story where you can tell, like, oh, this decision is not feel like it's in line with the character necessarily, but it's necessary if the story is going to go in a certain direction, and I get that. And the direction the story took may have been better for it. But for me, it's like, it's like I could tell, because that's not necessarily what I would have thought that character would have done. It felt a little bit like character. But I got why it happened. It still just bothered me a little bit. On the game mechanics side, again, things feel a little more gamelit. And that's not bad necessarily. The game mechanics from the previous story exist, and they continue on. All the virtual thefts exist. Again, there's just very little progression in terms of RPG stuff, in terms of leveling spells or getting skill points or new powers or anything, since the main characters kind of hit like this level cap in the last 3 books. So again, that's kind of why I say this feels like it's add-on content, like DLC. Like it would be DLC essentially. The characters instead do things that you would expect in in-game content, like focusing on player versus player stuff or exploring the world for these weird little quest lines or these out of the way places to like, oh, I've never done this. I've had the time now. Or you're finding the gameplay in just small ways as something to kind of do. Or in this case, solve issues affecting real people in the real world. Overall, it is an entertaining story. I liked it. I really did. It's again, definitely a little more cyberpunk gamelit, which is fine because this doesn't describe itself as lit RPG. And that's kind of one of the things that bugs me is that in general, is that when a story says, oh, I'm lit RPG, but I'm not. And I think to get way around that is just don't say you're lit RPG or just say you're a game lit or something. And the story does, it just is. And that's, which is why it's okay. It doesn't claim to be anything it's not, which is, I think, the key to me. However, I did miss the RPG progression a little bit. That's going to get at a score of 7.3 out of 10. That's Lost in the Game Dream State Saga book number 5, with the score of 7.3 out of 10.